please. Okay, it's 4 o'clock. We're calling the meeting to order. We have a few additions to, or changes to our agenda. Under new business, we'll be adding, Tim had his review today, so we'll be discussing his compensation in open session. And then we are also taking off 8.3, the negotiated offer upset bid, from the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adopt the revised agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Wendell moved, Widener second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We did have a closed session regarding personnel matters and attorney-client privilege. We just want to go over that. And Tim, would you like to give the invocation?
Thank you, Mayor. You bow your heads. Lord, we come before you today humble, and we thank you, Lord, for all the blessings. We thank you for the sunshine. We thank you for the excellent winter season we've experienced this year. And we ask for blessings on the council and the families here and those who are out sick. And we ask that you bless Whitey as he recovers, and those who are still out on leave recovering as well. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to thank anybody who's watching this on video. Hello there, and thank you for watching us. Okay, we've come to our public comment. Do we have a list for public comments? Anybody sign up? Nobody signed up. Okay. No public comment. We do have a consent agenda. On that agenda are the adoption of the minutes from the January 15th retreat planning meeting and the February 11th regular town meeting minutes. We have a budget amendment for a road maintenance department, a mowing tractor, and a budget amendment for the fire department and recreation department landing zone approach and approach to the ball field. We have a resolution supporting the Shane Outdoor Park, and we also have some tax releases. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Wendell moved, Widener second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have new business. There's Tim's compensation after his evaluation. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for a 2% increase in
Okay.
his that salary.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, Wendell motion, Barry second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay.
Nay.
That's 4-1, motion passed. On our agenda is the side path street project, which we refer to as the Greenway. And basically, we have a construction of a side path along Beach Mountain Parkway, which is NC 184, from the entrance of the convenience center to Christie Way, which will enhance the walkability and the safety of pedestrians and bicyclists for a multimodal use path. And then we've got some plans and a bid for review. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a brief comment. We had this bid open recently. We bid it in the fall. We had no bidders then. There's approximately $200,000 left in the grant. Last week when the bid came in at $309, we were a little bit sticker shock. But then we've got some good news, and I'll turn that over to Riley to tell you the good news.
Good news, we went back to the DOT, the RC grant. They gave us another $66,000. It will take a little paperwork. We'll have that in hand hopefully by June, but we can get started with the project before then, since we already have the other monies available. Then we also have the $50,000 from the TDA, so we should be in good shape.
So that means that we don't.
That means there's no reason for me to hedge on recommending we do this project. Now, this is for 452 feet.
Right.
This is not the entire project, 1,700 linear feet approximately. Our plans are, once this construction is done, we'll probably work Preston and Raleigh. We'll go back, probably apply for another grant and try to finish the other ones in future phases. But that's where we're at, so we recommend council approve and accept the bid.
Okay, well, we received one bid, and it's from M&M Construction. And council, do you have any discussion on this?
Well, I'm happy to hear Riley's news, so if my understanding is correct, we now have 266 from the state, and the balance would come from the TDA to meet the 309, so we would not need to.
We're not spending anything.
That'd be good.
I'm all for that.
Okay. Anybody else have any discussion?
Question, should we get a second bid on this since we only have one bid?
I'll turn that over for, we bid it one time before, so I don't know if we bid it out again, if we'd have any more bidders.
For the informal bid process, you're not required to have more bidders due to the dollar amount that's involved by statute. By practice, council in the past has typically wanted to get at least 3 bids if they're available.
But we've had 2 bidding processes, and in the 2 processes, we've only had 1 bidder.
Correct. So statutorily, there's not a requirement that you have more than the bid that you've received. So it's within council's discretion whether you wish to have more bids to see where those stack up, or you could legally proceed with this if that was your choice.
And we did, just to follow up, we did go through the advertising process, and Riley, I think we talked to Iron Mountain, and wasn't there one more company?
Iron Mountain, Peaberry Construction, Act Construction, there was 2 from over at Boone that did Greenway projects over there. We tried to get them to bid on it also, but we pretty much exhausted it. And believe it or not, they also in this bid process is where you get businesses that you try to get to help that aren't doing real well to go into this, and they contacted M&M as part of the subcontractor, contacted 240 businesses, and they all said either it was out of their area or they weren't interested. So it's
Sounds like we've kind of
tried.
exhausted our resources.
The market.
It doesn't have to be an approved contractor with the state?
Yes, it does. It has to be a licensed contractor with state bid bond, insurance, and all that sort of thing.
Okay. Any other discussion, council?
One last question.
Yeah.
So this dollar amount is for phase 1. Have we looked at phase 2?
Phase 2, we don't have any, we've got the preliminary engineering, but it's not been bid, so we don't know what a figure was of that. If you use the unit cost here, I can't remember if it's 804, 894,000. It was almost close to $1 million, but that's just guesstimates. That's not engineering estimate or anything. So in the future, now can we break that into like a second and third phase possibly? One thing about DOT, once they've done one phase, they like to come back and do alternate phases. So, but it took us, I believe, 8 years to get to this point. So
We
I'm
just started this project.
so I don't know how soon that second phase will come. So that's where we're at.
And the project was supposed to go all the way down to the Greenway, and then we ran into problems, and DOT then changed their specs on us, and we couldn't do that. So it ended up being cut short with the 452 feet, and then we were going to look at it later on down the road.
We do have a lot of projects right now, so I don't think the second phase will come anytime in the next 3 years, probably even longer than that. But we're saying we're not going to abandon maybe in the future trying to look at it.
Right. Anything else? No? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the M&M construction bid for the side path streetscape project? Barry, motion, do I hear a second? Is there no further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay, next on our agenda is the discussion of requiring participation for paving on new roads. This came when a gentleman who represents the Emerald Mountain Association, they have a piece of Oz Road where it goes from paved to dirt and gravel to paved. And they have asked the town to pave that section of road. The town wrote a letter and said, well, this is an assessment, and the people on, yes.
We haven't wrote the letter yet. You're seeing it before we send the letter out.
Oh, sorry. But normally what the town does, and what was done on all of our roads, is you assess the property owners on that road. what the half of it is divided out by how many property owners there are, and then the town picks up the other half. So what we're discussing today is, do we want to pave that road or, and take the full cost, or do we want to do the assessment? So, do I hear a motion? Well, let's discuss it. Does anybody have anything to say?
I am firmly in support of maintaining the policy as it's always been, that the town will bear 50% of the cost. I find the argument that this is somehow a special road or different, the arguments that the gentleman made, are a little bit specious. We've all, as councilmen, been asked to list our priorities for paving, and this is not on my list, and I don't see a justifiable reason to change the town's way of doing business when it comes to paving, that the 50% cost sharing is the right policy, and I agree in this case as well.
Okay, Carl, anybody else?
Who will maintain the road?
After the assessments, the town maintains it in perpetuity. If the owners pay, they pay one time and that's it.
Just the initial
Just the
installation.
initial construction.
Just the comment that I would make is that the property owners, as we see on that one list that goes out, the majority of them vote to take the assessment, and the one that has 871 feet votes no. He's really going to be in a bind because it would be assessed. So I don't know how that'll work out, but that'll be up to them.
Well, at this point,
I don't think we should change policy.
we'll send main thing, once you finish your policy discussion, then we'll just proceed as normal, send these letters out, see if we get 51%. And that is a combination of the actual number of property owners and the dollar amount that has to be paid.
But that 51% is based on the linear footage. So if that gentleman is opposed, he is going to carry the day unless.
Oh, his weight.
It is not 50% of the owners. It's based upon the linear footage along that road that you owe.
I missed that.
It's why Raven Road isn't opposed. We're the fly in that ointment personally because of the amount of frontage we have.
So if this guy says no, then it's
Then it's
no.
Yeah.
Okay. Any
Well,
other?
what if everyone else makes up the difference?
That would be their prerogative.
Yeah, so they
I
can
would
make up the
assume as long as they
difference.
come up with the 50% of the total, how they choose to do it among the property owners is one thing.
Right.
My understanding of the statute is with one in opposition, then that carries the day. It's not simply a matter of cost. It is based on the linear footage owned along the road as to the amount of weight that you have, and if said gentleman is or lady is opposed, then that should be enough to settle the argument. It's not simply a dollars thing, it's about, do you want your road paved or not? Not everyone does.
And he's at 48.5%, so if one other person, well, you've got one that could make it to 51%.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
so it just depends what that guy wants.
Yeah, but I mean, if the question, as I understand it before us, is do we change
change
our
policy?
policy and pay 100%, then I am opposed to that.
Right.
Now, is that property empty?
It's part of the Oz, so it's
all part of the
wooded
Oz?
land.
It's all part of the Oz?
It's Emerald Mountain, right?
Emerald Mountain.
Any other discussion? I was actually for doing it and have the road pick it up, the town pick it up, because I felt so many people that weren't part of Oz doing it, and then I had a discussion with Tim and Robert, and was enlightened that all our roads are done this way, and that was information I didn't know. And so you can't use the argument that, well, other people are using it, because there's a lot of people that go down Pinnacle and a lot of people that go down Pine Ridge, and they don't live there. So my argument at first went down the drain. So I do agree that we need to stay with what the town has always done by doing the assessment and not just pick a road and pave it ourselves. So may I have a motion to go forward with
Is the 161.8, is that an
That,
estimate?
the 141 was paving, and then we estimated some for engineering and raising manholes. But I don't think, unless you're gonna change policy, they don't
So
need a
no, we
motion.
don't need a motion.
You don't need any
So
kind
we're
of
just
motion.
gonna stay.
This was
with
just
it.
information, and
Okay, that works,
They want to send out a letter.
we're gonna send out, we'll send out.
All right.
okay? Okay, we have old business, there's nothing under old business. Mr. Holloman, would you like to give staff reports?
Wow, that was really quick today.
It was quick.
I don't think I had anything to add unless anybody has questions about staff reports. The only two things I have as far as tomorrow, March 13th at 2 p.m., we're going to have the first meeting of the golf cart committee.
Oh, it is tomorrow.
So they're scheduled for 4 meetings. They may be able to do it in 3. We've got real good feedback.
What time is it?
2 o'clock.
Okay, you recommending council?
I think council doesn't need to attend.
It's probably better we don't.
And we are going to record it, so it'll be live.
Oh,
So-
okay,
So you can
good.
watch it if you wanted to.
Okay, that works.
The next, also on March 14th, there's going to be a pre-construction meeting on the LZ approach at 11:30, so me and Ryan will be there for that. So Eggers is eager to get started on construction, so that moved up to about 5 days. So really, those are only two immediate things I have to pass on. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We have council comments. Wendell?
Nothing.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Widener?
So I just need some clarity and an explanation on this, and maybe council knows this, and maybe Tim, you can put your input on this. I've questioned a couple times the cost of the LZ and the road that is going to be down at the ball field. On February the 11th, the cost was $17,000. And then on February the 12th, council received notice that it was $8,300. And then on February the 25th, in a council discussion, I was asked to use the correct terms, that it was $8,300, not 60, and not 17 or 18. So I just, for my own sake, I requested a copy of the contract. The contract that I received wasn't signed, but it did have the $8,300 on it. So I requested a copy of the signed contract, and the signed contract, which it was signed, but the contract numbers are different. And the one that was with the $8,300 isn't signed. Here's a signed contract. So I asked for the entire copy of the contract, the engineering contract, and it matches the signed contract, but it's $18,500. So my question is that on the 11th it was $17,000, on the 12th it was $83,000, the 25th it was $83,000, second email on the 25th it was $83,000, and then when I questioned the contracts, it went from $8,300 to $18,500. So I'm just looking for the discrepancy, and also, who approved the additional $10,000?
Well,
Where did that come from?
it was already budgeted. What happened was, on the February 17th, the 17,000, you just asked me off the cuff, what was the price, and I had to guess that I didn't have before, so I asked that.
What date was that?
The first one you mentioned, the February 17th. I went back on the 18th and I pulled the contract, and the contract then was just for the LZ, not for drainage. What happened was, one company was supposed to do the stabilization project and the LZ. When they wound up not doing the stabilization, they had to do drainage. So we came back, it was budgeted, but the drainage plus LZ is $18,500. That is the correct amount, and so that's the correct amount. It's $18,500 for the engineering and drainage for the LZ approach and the drainage for that.
You finally put the word in I was looking for.
LZ
We gotta quit
approach,
calling it the LZ.
LZ approach or
It's
LZ
the
road.
approach to the ball field.
Well, that's what
Probably
it
better.
is. It's the approach to the ball field, and that's what we need to call it.
Yeah.
So the additional $10,000 was in the budget?
Yes.
Okay. All I asked for is that, there was some communication about the actual cost, and, as a business owner, numbers are very important, and accurate numbers are very important to be able to make decisions. And I ask that we have more accurate information so that there is nothing that is miscommunicated.
I totally appreciate that. And maybe that also in the future, if you ask me off the cuff, I might say no and let me find out first.
And that's fine.
Yeah, and you know,
That'd be cleaner.
I'd
So,
rather,
yeah, and if somebody asks again, I'll remind you that, let me get the correct numbers.
yeah, I don't like answers off the cuff, you know,
Yeah.
because most of the time they're not accurate.
Right.
So I'd rather you say, hey, let me look this up and give me not only myself, I mean, it's for everyone's benefit.
Right.
My last question is that the landing zone and, the LZ and the road went from 10 feet to 24 feet. And I think, Wendell, you'd made a comment in the last meeting that we had decided to go to 24 feet. When was that? Did we discuss that in the council meeting?
I don't remember it actually being discussed in the council meeting, but the reason it went wider was the idea that we were focusing on increasing the parking ability in that area. And that to do that, you'd have to have two-way traffic, and you needed a wider road to do that.
So when was that? I'm just
I-
curious
Well,
when that
well,
was
let me,
discussed.
if Mayor, let me kind of intercede for a question, answer on that. At the last meeting, when the council was discussing whether or not to issue the bid, we had several options, either pave the whole thing, or you could have gone back to 10 feet, or you could have gone 20 feet. So that was at the time, council decided to go ahead with the 20 feet with the grass design, so you did have one time to turn it down.
Right. We did discuss it, and I even remember in the last meeting, you said, why don't we just go back to the single lane? And then Carl brought up also that, you know, and I had mentioned the forethought, and let's not narrow our thinking if we're going to use it as a parking zone, a parking area also, so that you've got two-way traffic coming down, and that was part of our discussion in the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Barry?
Oh, Matthew, the recycling center, 100% better. Whatever you guys are doing, you're consistent. Thank you.
Your turn.
I really don't have anything. I think everything is pretty well covered.
Yeah, it was. Okay, you sure?
I don't know, maybe I'll come up with something.
Don't
Carl?
push.
As always, thank you everyone for coming, participating, and your involvement. Sorry we didn't have a food fight for you tonight. Kind of quick and boring, but as always, thank you. Remain engaged, reach out to us, reach out to the members of the golf cart committee, because that is going to be a contentious issue, and we need to hear from all the stakeholders.
Good. I don't have anything either.
Oh.
I know.
Well, why did you question me when I said I had nothing?
I don't know. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Oh, never mind. I keep forgetting. We have citizen comments.
Oh, yes.
Based on our agenda. So what we've talked about today, do we have anybody that would like to speak?
It's not based on what you talked about today, so I
Yeah.
just have to send a letter.
Yeah, or talk to me after.
Okay.
Okay, so there's nobody wants to discuss anything that we've talked about on the agenda today. Yes, Fred?
I would like to mention one item
Yes.
on the paving. When we started the
You
paving,
got to talk in the microphone.
I got a loud enough voice. When we started the paving program, way back when, it was 51%. Now, it's more than 51%, and I don't know the exact figure on that. And also, on the paving, it is 50-50, you know, you split the difference with the homeowners. But on private roads, if they want it paved and the town will not pave it, the homeowners can pay for that whole thing and get it paved. And then, of course, the town takes it over,
Right.
as usual.
Now, I would like to follow up on that, just as far as a private road. They would have to show the town engineering specs, it'd have to meet DOT standards for us to take it.
Right.
Because I just want to make sure if they pave it and expect us to take it without approval, we have the right to say we're not going to take a road.
We're not going to take it. if
So,
they
anyway,
just
I just want to clarify that,
You're right.
so folks would think, okay, we can pave our road and town will take it. That's not quite, there's a couple more steps.
Okay. Anything else, Rick, on that? Well, thanks for adding that. I appreciate it. Anybody else on the agenda? No? Yes?
Sorry, I did want to mention that the contractor that did submit the bid is recognized as a hub, which is for our records, they are a historically underutilized business, and they meet that requirement.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Wendell, Widener, thank you for coming, everybody.
New league record.
20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Kind of have to pinch myself, that was.
Widener.
Don't worry, Bob.
Thank you.